And there's the next Mongolian redfin. Yeah, an absolutely rare fish. But the Mongolian redfin actually bites here at this spot quite nicely, again and again, and casting out again right away. So I've been testing here for quite a while, and this is now the third time I've caught the Mongolian redfin here. A really rare fish, unfortunately. And of course, it would be really great if one of them could go in here at some point as a trophy. On the bait combination, stonefly and mayfly larva. That seems to be working pretty well here right now. Yeah, and some other stuff is biting too. Asian smelt, for example, is also coming in. That one could finally go in as a trophy for me too. That's why I'm testing a few different hook sizes right now to see what works best here. So Asian smelt, then also little masu salmon from time to time. The East Siberian one is also coming in here every now and then. And like I said, what's really important here is the Mongolian redfin. And that's honestly pretty tricky. So I'm definitely hoping they'll go in really big at some point. That would be really, really nice. Look at this. Asian smelt, also really nice. Good size. So just cast it out gently again. You can also just cast it over here, and then the float with the bait just drifts into the line clip, and then it stays right there in the clip. Yeah, and what happens is the bait then floats upwards through the line clip. We're basically using a kind of sliding float rig here. You could also do this with a fixed float rig. So, with a set bait depth. That would also be a possibility. And in the moment when the fish bites, the line clip automatically releases, and then you can strike. So, it's a really relaxed way to just let the whole setup sit there. You don't have to keep reeling in the float again and again. You can really keep it in place pretty well and just let it run. But of course, you do have to test this spot a bit first. See whether you go with 8 meters, 9 meters, 10 meters clip. That's something you really should test. Right now, I'm on a short 10-meter clip, but I did start a lot closer earlier with the rod pod set up more in front, and I cast more in this direction. And then the floats didn't drift out that far, but ended up in the area and stood more to the left. Yeah, that's something you just have to test. You really need to see where does which fish bite. Here in this area, there were definitely a lot more of the smaller Asian smelt. Also not bad. You can definitely try that as well. Another option, if you want a bit more action, is to just skip the line clip on one of the rods and let the whole thing drift freely, and then just focus on managing that one rod the whole time. Casting out, reeling in, casting out again, and while you're doing that, you wait for bites on the fixed floats, the ones that are still in the clip, but you're mainly keeping an eye on the one active float. Yeah, and the big advantage is, because you're using the line clip, you don't have to keep reeling in constantly. You're not constantly busy reeling in and casting again, especially when you've got 3 rods active at the same time. You're basically constantly reeling or casting. And if you've cast out to like 30 meters or so, then you've got a lot of line out, and that makes it a lot of work. So this setup here is a lot more relaxed, but as I said, you're not going to catch all fish species like this because the bait is now, like I said, up at the surface. So since the sliding float goes all the way up, the bait also rises all the way to the top, up to 18 centimeters deep. And so the fish that bite are more those from near the surface or ones that come up from time to time and pick up the bait there. Both the match rig and the sliding float rig have the same issue, that the bait floats upwards. If you don't want that, then you go for a fixed float rig and set your bait depth just the way you want it. But even then, keep in mind of the current, the bait still rises up a bit. Right now, I'm using a size 6 hook. On the other rods, I'm actually using size 12 hooks to trigger smaller fish as well. So, I'll now go for 1 meter depth, and I'll still use the 10-meter line clip. Then we'll let the fixed float drift along again. And you can already see the line clip kicks in shortly, but the bait doesn't get pulled upwards, so the bait now stays much lower. And here comes the next fish. Very nice. Yeah, and another Mongolian redfin. Would be great if this keeps going like that with the Mongolian redfin, but I still need to tweak the size too. I might go for a size 4 hook now, a bigger one, And also test some other combinations. Stonefly. Stonefly could be an option. And the other rod, we'll set that up now with mayfly larva. There's even a size 1 hook on it right now. I'll go for a size 4 again here. Not too huge though. So, size 4. We'll cast this combo out gently again, let the rest drift. Yeah, and the third one, I'll switch that up again too. Apparently they're biting quite close to the surface, so I'll just stick with the classic match rig. And yeah, 9 kilo line, size 6 hook, I'll leave that as is. Here's the setup, also cast out gently again and let it drift into the clip. Yeah, sometimes it works better, sometimes worse. Of course, always depends on the weather too. But interestingly, the Mongolian redfin shows up here regularly. So I've stood here a few times, kept testing, and she bites again and again. So, you do catch her here again and again. Unfortunately, not big enough yet. So, test, try it out. Maybe you'll get lucky and catch yourself a Mongolian redfin. If you liked the video, leave a thumbs up, don't forget to subscribe, hit like, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, tight lines.